How to stop seeking external validation. You don't have to be chosen by somebody else. You don't have to wait for them to say, I choose you, I see you, I hear you, I validate you, therefore you are special. No, you need to know that you were chosen when you were born. If you are making yourself worthless by making somebody else worthy, this could be the symptoms that you're having. What a lot of coaches and people out there will say is that self esteem is conflated with external validation. I want to challenge that view. A big part of this is being able to detach from who you are and what is occurring externally. The circumstances, praise, or criticism has nothing to do with whether you are a good or a bad person. I am going to tell you all the pointers that helped me go from this invisible, insecure, shy, good girl to a confident, secure, wonderful, I like to think, woman. So I hope this helps you as much as it did me. And I am including the one shift that actually helped me get there. When we allow our subconscious mind, our body, that is, to actually believe that we are worthy, that is felt. You don't want to shrink anymore, and you don't want to make yourself shrink, make yourself invisible. No, no, no. You want to become irresistible. Welcome to the first, last, only, and best day of your entire life. When you can acknowledge that today is, in fact, the first day of your life, how special do you then go out and make it? If you know today is the best day of your entire life, how intentional are you going to be with every single second, every action that you make? And I'm not saying that it has to be anything less than ordinary, but I am saying that you need to bring the perspective and the presence that will make that ordinary moment stunning. It'll make the moment of doing the dishes, of doing the laundry, incredible because you get to do it. You get to. How would I act if this was the first day of my life? How would I be if this was my best day? When you start asking questions like this, you inevitably create opportunity and invitation for yourself. You inevitably create an environment where you can actually be welcoming of anything and everything that occurs because you're determined that today, no matter what happens, will be the best day ever. Our motivations are driven by our fears. Ultimately, we are forever seeking attention and kudos from the spaces and people and places that we are insecure about. If I'm afraid of authority, I'm going to hope that my teachers tell me that I'm doing a good job. If I think that I'm not very smart, I'm going to study for that test until I ace it. So the grade reflects you're smart, you're intelligent, you got this. If I think I'm unworthy, I'm most definitely going to hope that the new sweater I'm wearing today would be noticed by my crush and he will tell me that I look nice. If I don't think that I'm very pretty, I'm going to take bunches of pictures and post one after hours and hours of taking them on social media to get all the likes that I can.
Editing Julia here to add that it is actually our intention for doing, our reason for doing, our motivation for doing that we need to shift. It's not for other people that are external to us, but rather for ourselves, for the betterment of who we will be, for our peace. Who am I serving by doing this? How am I serving my peace by doing this? Am I serving my peace by doing this? Eventually, this turns into, once you are more spiritually attuned, is this giving glory to God? Only then, when you move from a place of ownership of what it is that you're doing, only when you do it for the reason of your betterment, your harmony, and love at a greater level, not attachment, but love, when you move from this place, it's powerful and permanent. That is when your identity starts to shift towards who you've always wanted to be. Begin to detach by creating actions that have nothing to do with anybody else other than your peace.
Everything that we do is motivated really by a true, distinct, and deep fear, which you can recognize. What is your actual belief? Ask yourself the 7 whys. Why do I feel insecure about this? Well, because I've never really been told that I'm loved no matter what. Okay, why can I not feel that I am loved no matter what? Well, I can tell myself that I am, but I'm not sure that I believe it because no parent, no teacher, no authority figure has ever said that I'm going to be okay and still be able to meet all my basic needs no matter what. Okay, why is that? Well, when I was a child, I was told that I had to act a certain type of way. I had to be kind. I had to perform, basically. I had to be the good girl. I had to be useful. I had to be polite in order to get attention or love. It was not okay if I expressed my feelings of sadness or discord or in any way anger or just throwing a tantrum, even. All of that was always met with discomfort, displeasure, and what's the word? Castigo. ¿Cuál es la palabra? Punishment. So we want to shift from needing somebody outside of ourselves to tell us that we're doing a good job. We want to know that what we are doing, how we're acting, how we're feeling is all okay. Therefore, we want to actually expand our comfort zone and our sort of degree of safety, like security in our body and feeling. If this was your childhood, and most of our childhoods were this way, you've probably grown up thinking that love is conditional. Only if you show a part of yourself can you be loved. Only if you show half of yourself, only if you suppress the real part of you, can you be loved. No wonder a lot of us think that we're unlovable because we're never actually sharing our entirety. A formula that I like to come back to is that the rate of expression that you have of your inner child, laughing super duper loud, acting weird, being okay with how you feel at any point in time, no matter who's in the room, and how you might have to act, and what you might let out, or what you might let slip, or what you might say, or how you might whatever. Your rate of expression equals your level of safety. Are you cool with sharing bloopers of yourself? Are you cool with dancing, messing up, tripping up? Do you laugh at yourself if you mess up? All of these very quirky and unexpected parts of life, do you let them be there? And if you do let them be there, is it with a sense of shame or is it with a sense of ownership? How you'll know where you stand on this need for external validation versus internal validation is your relationship that you have to your comfort zone. If you consider the unknown and you ask, how do I feel when I don't know what's going to happen in the future? That is how you know your level of safety and security and self trust with yourself versus needing to source it from the external. If your relationship to the unknown freaks you out, you probably have a view that you have to seek external validation more so than if the unknown actually makes you excited. If you're excited by the fact that you have all this time in the future and you can set your own goals and you just are so excited for the miracles that life's going to bring, then that means you have this internal sense of resilience and confidence that no matter what arises, you're going to be able to handle it. Or at least you'll find the resources to be able to handle it if you're excited by it. These are your levels of safety and security in your spirit, and therefore the level of authenticity that you have, and therefore how you're able to show up in life more by your spirit and less by your ego, less by your facade and more by your light. Our ancient selves are always looking for that tribe and belonging and safety in the pack, in the people to tell us what you're doing is okay. We accept it. We agree because we together build the shelter. We build the places that we will all thrive and continue to live together. Thus, it's all based on survival. And we're programmed this way. But it becomes a problem when anxious attachment, say, is involved, speaking from personal experience. I'm sure avoidant attachment is also part of this. However, when it comes down to like, I am unworthy unless you tell me that I'm okay. When it comes down to really needing somebody else's energy and attention in order for you to have your own, and you don't have a boundary between where you end and they begin, that's really where the trouble lies. For me, in my personal story, it was very much around being in relationships where the man I was with was more insecure than I was, but I didn't recognize this at first. And it came out in little comments like, oh, I can't believe you did that again, or how come you forgot this? And in me asking, hey, could you perhaps say this another way? He would take that as a criticism. And I'm not here to speak badly of exes, but just to point out the level of emotional intelligence and maturity that it takes to be able to be the person who acknowledges, I didn't do that right and I want to do that right. Therefore, I hear what you have to say, which is what it takes to be in a relationship. You want to learn, what is this person's love language? How can I love them better? And vice versa. That's what we're there for, to improve and grow and strengthen our bond. So when I stepped back from these relationships and saw that it was a pattern for me to be with somebody who I believed in more than I believed in myself, who I realized didn't actually like me very much and tried to pick me apart because that would be the only way that they could feel good about themselves, I started to see that I could be disliked by absolutely anyone. I didn't need anybody's external validation. If the person who knows me the most and who is closest to me on this earth, being my romantic partner, doesn't like me, I am totally fine because I like me. But when we grow up, we start to realize that these basic needs, as Maslow's hierarchy of needs points out, which is shelter, food, drink, a place to lay your head at night to sleep. When we recognize that we've grown up and we provide that for ourselves and we are the authoritative figures in our lives, we no longer have to seek for a mentor, a teacher, a parent, a partner to tell us, you're doing well. That's where the belief can shift because the belief you held as a child kept you safe, but the very same belief that you still have keeps you small because you've literally grown up. You are a larger person in body, mind, soul. Thus, how can I adapt these beliefs from being limiting into being expansive? How can I now be the person who is going to determine and decide my own choices in life? How can I own who I am and what I want and what my needs are and how I meet them? We no longer need others' approval. We simply need our own blessing. And that comes with owning every part of who we are. And the problem can occur when we allow shame or past to withhold our potential to grow into who we know we've always meant to be in the future. And that comes with welcoming every emotion, which I've discussed plenty in a lot of my videos. It feels like almost all of them. When an emotion arises, welcome it. I feel tension that I'm challenging myself. I welcome the tension. I feel self conscious that I'm welcoming tension. I welcome the self consciousness and the tension. The shoulders start to drop. Did you notice? The capacity to expand and hold more means that we are living in abundance because there's always more. This is how we move into the world with courage and willingness, which are two important parts of confidence. If you want to watch my video on how to be more confident, this is the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is I did something bad, shame is I am a bad person. Can you make the shame speak a little bit more of a guilt language whenever you do anything wrong instead of quickly jumping to the meaning of having done something wrong, meaning that you are a bad person? Can you just keep it in the language of, I did a bad thing? And observe it, hold it, see what that feels like, welcome it. Because this is tied to the circles of control. You can control what you feel, what you think, what you say, what you do, and to an extent the result, because that can all be in alignment. What you cannot control is all of those things that others do. And you are attempting to manipulate them by expecting a certain praise out of an action that you create. You don't know what their reaction is going to be. And it is only unconditional love when you allow them to show up and say whatever it is that they're willing to say, no matter whether that fits with your picture of them in your head or not. I got tired of these emotional swings that I felt terrible when things were going bad and I felt incredible when things were going well. This labeling of good and bad just kept me in the swing of things. It was awful. You want to develop a resilience and a stability around no matter what's occurring outside of me, my identity is rooted. I'm here and I'm okay, no matter what happens externally. There's this beautiful story that I used to tell even years ago when I started life coaching, and it had to do with a man and a woman. They were farmers and they had a horse. They depended on the horse for work, and the horse one day goes lame. And everyone in the village goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry that your horse went lame. That is just awful." And the man says, "Maybe yes, maybe no." And a few days later, the horse gets better. So it really wasn't that long lasting a thing. And yet the wife had felt devastated. Then their son falls off the horse after working with it, and he breaks his leg. And everyone in the village and the wife are just commiserating with each other. Like, it's so bad, it's awful, he's never going to regain a full capacity to walk. And the father says, maybe yes, maybe no. A few days later, every young man gets enlisted to the army, but their son can't go due to his injury. So it's this beautiful look at life. How is this going to be a blessing for me? How is this an invitation? How is this an opportunity? And to be able to see it from this zoomed out perspective of there is gold in here somewhere. I just have to start to see it now, because in the future, it's going to be obvious. So try to see things in hindsight. It's really quite a fantastic and fun way of looking at what happens. What a lot of coaches and people out there will say is that if we're searching always for something outside of us, it has everything to do with our lack of worth. But what I want to challenge is that view. I think that our self has nothing to do with our ego and our pride. I think our self is our spirit, our soul. Thus, our pride, our ego, the face, the facade that we share with the world isn't what we actually are. We are the thing inside that has the virtues, that has the vitality, that has the life force energy, that knows our worth truly and never loses meaning of what that is. Whereas the ego is the stories and everything that hides us and blocks us and is the obstacle to who we truly are inside. Our light is our spirit. The wall is pride and ego. And I used to think that the self and the ego were 50-50. I'm half self, I'm half pride. And, my pride and my ego, it protects me. And then my virtues and my humility and myself, it's there and it's sort of being guarded by the boundary of the ego. And that has its own ideas to it that help, but I've come to notice that it isn't a 50-50 divide. It's actually more of an interlinked relationship. And it has everything to do with how honest you can be about who you are. It has to do with authenticity and genuineness. Can you actually merge both the ego with the self? Can you merge your spirit with who you're being with a stranger or online or when a camera is on you? Can you actually share what is inside you and who you know that you are? Because the stories that you're telling yourself and the limiting beliefs that we mentioned before are the ones that are actually withholding you from seeing your spirit and who you really are. So the lies are what is keeping you from seeing the truth. Ego being lies, spirit being truth. There is no 50-50 part to that. It is simply, how much of me am I able to see? Because the spirit is always 100%. It's just that there's this shadow of ego that is covering it. How large that gap is determines how inauthentic versus authentic you are. And the things that will widen that gap include the lies you tell yourself around how much you have to perform to be loved, that you have to be chosen externally always, versus I can choose myself. I can do this for me. I can do this because I enjoy it. You're closing the gap every single time you acknowledge that you are in control of this perspective. You're telling yourself a lie if you think you cannot control this. That is the value that you think you have and the value that another person's compliment or approval or validation will actually gift you. The value you think you have versus the value you're chasing. They're really one and the same. The foundation of attraction is really summed up well in this quote that I love by Plato. It says, "The lover is incomplete and seeks wholeness through the beloved." The thing that we love gives us and grants us what we believe we are missing. I've always liked that ever since I was like 14 or whenever it was that I first read it. Because basically, our desire to attain something from another person is our capacity to perfect what we believe we're missing. It's sort of a return to an original unity. So we're trying to unify things. Our ideals will always be 100% perfect. Nothing that is matter, nothing that is on earth will ever truly reach the thing that we can make in our imagination. And that is heartening, I think. We will forever consider and regard something differently and more magical than we can ever attain it and hold it in our physical hands. That is what makes us feel alive, is that there's always something more to grow into and change and improve and be like. Of course, narratives of worth and the capacity to build self trust and self validate, which we'll get to, is always what is fueling that ability to start seeing more of your soul than your egoic stories. So, on that note, I want to share the perspective that to be born is to be chosen. That's what one of my favorite writers, John O'Donoghue, says in Anam Cara. Again, one of my favorite books. To be born is to be chosen. Do you know the odds of having been born that that specific sperm would have gone to that egg, that that moment you would have actually been implanted, that the pregnancy actually followed through, that your two parents even met in the first place, and their parents and their parents, how many ancestors we have behind us? You are so chosen and special because you were born. It's incredible. I get the chills just thinking about it because what are the odds I wouldn't have been? To be born is to be chosen. And that level of chills is what makes me feel so loved by God. Plus, if you're a woman watching this, there is the inherent worth in being a woman, which I've only come to see recently, thankfully, due to my mentor, Martine. I think it's Feminine Womanhood on Instagram. She's wonderful. She has also this biological German New Medicine perspective. And when it comes to women, our inherent worth, because we are able to carry life, we are able to carry and nurture and devote ourselves to a whole other life. We multiply what men give us. We are able to create more of, an abundance of, whatever it is that we are handed and whatever it is that we desire. This is why having an intimate relationship with God is so incredible, because when you can trust yourself and your intuition, you know that the direction you're heading in is correct. That is confirmed for you. So, your inherent worth, not only in being born, but also in being a woman, if you're listening to this, is spectacular and overwhelming. And perhaps you just have to remind yourself of that more consistently. Because knowing that, deeply knowing that, my subconscious mind knowing that, as in my body knowing that, which runs 95% of the patterns every single day. Our minds are our conscious minds, they run 5% of what we do. When we allow our subconscious mind, our body, that is, to actually believe that we are worthy, that is felt because you are choosing and cherishing yourself. Me years ago would never have believed what I'm hearing now. I'm like, okay, like I sort of get it. So if that's you, you're okay. You're on the right track. You're on the right track. Maybe comment how you're feeling. I love to respond to what you have to say, and they are my love language comments. So I always reply. We're not thinking about yesterday. We're not thinking about tomorrow. That's probably giving us anxiety or depression. This is why I love coaching so much more than therapy, because yes, therapy has its place, but after a time of acknowledging how you have previously thought and what you actually did in the past and how you acted, there comes a time that you need to now look to the future. You need to now consider, who do I want to be? Not who have I only been, but the coaching actually allows you to say, okay, therefore, what will I now do now that I can see what I'm in control of? And you can apply for a virtue call with me at the link down below. What I'm also providing as of late are vitality calls, which are symptom clarity calls according to German New Medicine. So if you have a symptom such as chronic pain, if you have inflammation around your face, if you're carrying a little too much weight, it could be water retention that is due to kidney collecting tubules, that has to do with feeling like a fish out of the water, like you are abandoned, or perhaps you've been self abandoning. It comes from guarding yourself from the world and your body trying to keep you safe, to keep you in the primordial waters that German New Medicine believes we all came from. These are things that will naturally occur when we put others' needs before our own, when we don't know how to say no, how to protect our energy, how to have boundaries. If you are someone who tends to pedestalize somebody else and put them up on a platform, you immediately, by default, are below if you're looking up at them in your imagination. A default way that a lot of people pleasers will think is self devaluation. That is considering that I esteem myself as less than and attached to shame due to whatever is occurring in the external environment. You, of course, could have other symptoms and be running other programs according to GNM. So, whether that be a separation conflict with your skin, whether that be fatigue due to an adrenal cortex program, it could be so many different symptoms. And if you want to discuss them with me, you can apply down below. What I recommend when you are seeking external validation, specifically when you're dating and you might take it a little too quickly as an anxious attachment girl, is to definitely have people there who love you around you, and you need to trust what they say. It's easy to say, haha, of course you think that you don't know him, when you're looking out for green flags where there are clearly red ones. So, your blind spots, you have to know you have them. You have to know that there are only so many things that we can see when we're looking at someone from a certain point of view. So when you have friends or family who really look out for you and who love you, they'll say, well, did you notice this thing about them? Well, did you notice that? And you can take on that information by hearing what they have to say because they're looking out for you. When you allow other people to make your choices because you're seeking this external validation, you feel unfulfilled because you don't know what voice you're going to be listening to next. You don't know what the values of that voice are. You don't know what has informed them. You don't know if they are serving a power that is actually a detriment to you. If it is going to drain your energy to do what they said to do, and yet you don't have a filter of discernment where you judge what is correct for you according to your values, then you will not be moving in full integrity when you make that decision. You are the sum of your decisions. If you don't know how to make confident, strong, willful, ownership decisions, if you can't stand in full authority and authenticity with your own decisions in your life, you're most likely not happy with the life that you have because you are, in this moment, exactly who you've chosen to be throughout your life. There are forks in the road of life that mean that because we've decided to walk down this path, we can no longer turn back. I love the word decision because it comes from the Latin and it actually means to cut off any other choice that you have. So when it comes to moments like this, that is probably why you need a coach or people around you to look for your blind spots and really know what questions to ask. Because in life, you become the questions you consider. This is what's happening on a biochemical level. For people who grew up feeling unseen, unacknowledged, unnoticed, and not loved unless you were performing well, these are the chemicals that train the brain to actually get rid of or shame or suppress a part of you. And these are the chemicals that train the brain to search for that external validation to tell you that you're safe, that you're good, that you're worthy. Over time, this is what creates a person who is people pleasing and performative and perfectionistic and has chronic low self worth. I want to tell you alongside this how it is that you can create healthy sources of these biochemicals. Dopamine is the reward chemical. It's triggered by the anticipation and the await of that validation. When you get it, you're motivated to keep seeking those rewards. It creates a bit of a high. And it creates that cycle where you're constantly seeking the external validation, either from social media, from likes, from partners. You're chasing the compliments and you're chasing the praise. So, dopamine you can create in a healthy way in your life by having internal milestones, by being creative, and by having progress in your own life and on your own goals. When you set small ones, such as journaling for 5 minutes, going for a walk, you can actually achieve these every single day. So when you're asking yourself, how am I going to make this the best day of my life? Choose to actually do something that you enjoy, and then that'll give you the small little spike of dopamine because you have controlled the habit. You can also, when you go to bed, celebrate those tiny wins, like, I showed up for myself today. That actually does give you a little spike in your joy, and you have chosen to give that to yourself. You can also engage in creative activities if you are the kind of woman or man, if you're listening to this, who enjoys art, who enjoys dancing, who enjoys playing music. Give yourself 10 minutes to do that. Even if your schedule is hectic, I am definitely not a type A person, but if that's you, you can also use a checklist to visually notice how it is that you're doing this for yourself, and the accumulation of all of it will give you even more of that sense of stability. Now you can feel the hit from your own progress and not just others' praise. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It's triggered by feeling accepted, feeling safe, feeling loved, really having that emotional validation. The deep connection that you feel when you're accepted as you are and when you're deeply understood. The effect that you get from receiving that oxytocin is connection and trust and emotional bonding. You feel closer to somebody. The cycle is that you're constantly seeking somebody else to feel okay. It makes external approval feel essential for connection, especially in those with anxious attachment. You probably cannot self regulate and you have to co regulate. So, what you can do to get oxytocin from a healthy source is having that intimacy and self nurturing and practicing that self regulation. So, instead of picking up the phone to call a friend or a mentor to ask if what you just did was okay, try practicing and rehearsing that conversation alone. Say all the things that you are going to say on the phone, and then say everything that you'd expect that they would tell you. Say them out loud. That's a way of self validating because your ears are almost allowing you and giving you permission to feel how it is that you're feeling. Don't just live this in your head, live this somatically by actually saying all of this out loud. This generates from personal experience a spiritual connection because you start to recognize that it's not only you who is there, it's not only you who is developing this self trust, but actually there's someone listening to your own conversation, and that is God. And He is actually who you're speaking to. And this is what I call prayer. It's truly this simple. It may also be helpful to have self touch, like just hugging yourself or just putting your hand in your heart or caressing yourself. It creates a sense of safety even without another person there. This also is where my doggy comes in because I will pat him so much. I will love his attention. This is why they say that dogs are a man's best friend because they're always there. They never talk back. They'll listen forever. Going for a walk in nature helps this as well if you want to pray while you keep discussing that and maybe take your dog along. And just recognizing that you are your own vulnerable space. You are safe no matter what comes up, and keep welcoming those emotions. Because oxytocin blooms in spaces of authenticity, not performance. I actually mentioned in this other video how the near enemy of connection is control. That is found by Brené Brown. She's fantastic. So go watch that video to have a look at what I'm saying. We then have serotonin, that is the chemical that's triggered by respect and admiration and recognition. It has the effect of mood regulation, confidence, and a sense of significance. The cycle of a lack of validation can lead to drops in serotonin, which contribute to social anxiety or insecurity, which is why sourcing it in a healthy way is so vital. Because when you have self trust and sovereignty and live in alignment, you consistently have that confidence whether you have external validation or not. Some habits to develop serotonin in a healthy way include a daily gratitude practice, acknowledging what it is that you have and what it is to be grateful for. Affirmations that are linked to the light of your spirit and allow it to shine through those ego stories and lies, such as I am safe being myself. Of course, the beautiful habits of sunlight and exercise, both of which naturally boost serotonin. Also, we don't often do this if we are deep in shame, but the celebration of recognizing your prior milestones, how far you've actually already come, not only how far you have to go. Your personal growth, your perspective now compared to how it used to be. In fact, comment some of these below so we can celebrate each other. Not from an external validation point of view, simply from an acknowledgement of how far we have come. And also, vitally important, actually make decisions from alignment. My video on confidence discusses alignment and how it is that you can align your thoughts, your feelings, your words, your actions, and the result consistently, because this is what develops your integrity. And actually make decisions from now on from this place of I have everything I need and I will have everything I need. I am meeting my needs. I am able to, I'm in control of them. When you come from this place, you know that you're always able and trusting of yourself to meet whatever may arise in life. So, when you're making a decision from integrity, you have no regret over not having gone another way. Your intention is not now to do something out of fear or out of approval, but because it aligns with your own values and with your vision and who you know that you're going to be after the decision is made. Serotonin flows when you honor your own value, even when no one is watching, because that is who you are. I love the definition of integrity being how you do anything is how you do everything. And of course, we have the chemicals called endorphins that are triggered by positive emotional experiences like laughter and anything that gives you an emotional uplift. The effect is that it creates a temporary sense of ease, a euphoria, a pain relief, a lightness. When this is done with other people, it reinforces that positive emotional association with external validation. You can source endorphins by yourself and in a healthy way through these habits. You can dance freely to the music you love. You can watch something funny that you enjoy that makes you laugh. An emotional release counts as part of this. So when you cry, you can say, "Oh my gosh, I'm releasing endorphins," as a way to welcome any feeling that actually releases pain. You can do breath work or whatever it is you need to center yourself back into, okay, I'm here for myself. You can do something playful or spontaneous, which again is allowing that light of your spirit to shine through your egoic stories because your inner child is showing up. And you can do some stretching or light yoga because that releases your lymphatic system and allows yourself to just flow more. Your body knows how to feel good when you allow it to move and feel and express. Life is movement. So, to summarize the chemicals and how it is that you can integrate them into your life and self validate, you can ask for dopamine, where did I show up for myself today? For oxytocin, how can I show up for myself right now? For serotonin, what do I appreciate about myself today? And for endorphins, what can I do to move or express joy today? A lot of us need answers. We need concrete reasons as to why and how. Another one of my favorite authors, Rainer Maria Rilke, said that it is important to live with questions, to just hold them, to see that they're there, and one distant day we might live into the answers. And I think that is so incredibly beautiful because you have that confidence that they will be resolved, just not immediately. The leverage comes when you eventually, one day, feel that it is more painful not to move now than it has been to stay in the same place for years. To look back 365 days of your life, you have remained in the same place from not trying. So now it's going to be more painful if I don't try. And that's what happened to me. Overall, I think it's important to know that external validation is naturally sought. It is simply that when the feelings come with this, well, what if I'm questioned? I have no backbone. I'm not able to defend my point of view. That you need to know you're okay, you're secure, and develop that trust in who you are on your spirit, not only in your stories and your ego. They don't actually need to be perpetuated, and you're draining your energy by keeping these stories and limiting beliefs alive. Return to your vitality, which I can help you with at the coaching link below, or simply in the comments. Return to what it is that you love. Return to yourself, your body. Return to your needs. Meet them slowly but surely in every moment of presence. There's no need to stammer and look to others for answers. It is a survival mechanism to be afraid of death. Well, am I going to die if I do this? Am I going to die? Am I going to die? That's really what's playing in the back of all our minds. That's really what fear and lack is at the root. So, how about you invert that thought? Yes, one day I'm going to die. One day I'm going to die. One day they're going to die. One day none of us are going to be here. Who am I going to be happier to have been? What legacy am I going to be pleased to have left my children? And how would I have wanted to have influenced the world around me in the very few years I had left? Because we do not know when our last day is. That's why I say, welcome to the first, last, only, and best day of your life. It's the last day. It's the last day of your life. How are you going to live it? If it's the only day of your life, how are you going to live it? It is so important to acknowledge that not only is it your chance to live the first and best day, but also it's the last and only. It's the last and only day. And I'm going to die one day, and I don't know what day that is. And I'm going to live today the best of my abilities. I hope this video has brought you some sense of safety and security around who you are and the fears that you have. They're all normal. We have been created in such a miraculous way. The body is constantly adapting in order to survive, and this is where these beliefs come from. But now you can parent them. Now you can change them because you are in control of all of these things in your own life. Start looking inward. Start gaining this validation from yourself. Start presencing everything that arises and welcoming it. And slowly but surely, you will become the woman you have always wanted to be. Until next week, as my Oma always said, harden at your heart, love and serve each other.